Welcome everyone to the stream for the Miami Grand Prix as we wait for the drivers to listen to the national anthem of the United States. I'm joined today here by Nemesis, and later on we should get a young Swizz to join us as well once he gets online.
Yes, hello everybody. Wasn't here for quali, but I heard all of that was taken care of very well.
Oh, no, definitely. Quali was a very fun, very entertaining session this year at Miami, especially
Jam packed.
with Charles's crash, which ended up giving Sergio Perez the pole position. I think Max was extremely frustrated with that result, that he was unable to put in a lap a lot faster.
Yeah, really threw a span in the works that he really wasn't ready for. Or, well, I guess it caught him out because he messed up his first lap. So I guess it's kind of his own making, but also a bit unlucky at the same time.
Oh, definitely, truly is unlucky on his side. I think that Sergio definitely did outperform, but also you must remember the teams are doing weird strategies whereby it seemed that the soft tires only really got activated after a few laps of running. So drivers would do a fast lap and then like one or two cool down laps and then go for another fast lap. So it seemed like the first lap was usually a high fuel run, is what I would like to call it. And then that second or third lap ends up being that faster pole setting lap. So I think Max was just out on that journey trying to do that.
This is Q3 you speak now.
Yes, this was in Q3. I don't think he needed to really concern himself with Q1 or Q2. Unfortunately, we did lose Lewis Hamilton in Q2. He was unable
We
to
did.
put the car up into Q3. I think this is the first time this whole year, and George Russell keeps showing that he's beating Lewis Hamilton in that same Mercedes.
I think let's go through the order of qualifying and how it stands at the moment. And let's just go through how everybody actually did. Just a nice recap so we can see what I'm just pulling it up real quick
No
if
problem.
the website will load.
It is Charles Leclerc. No, wrong race for me. I'm looking at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying and not the Miami Grand Prix
It
qualifying.
is Perez on pole. We put in, I guess, a solid lap. What do you think about Perez's lap?
Perez's lap, I do think, was a phenomenal job from him. I think there was a lot more for him to gain, personally, I think, and that it was more of a warm-up lap to just put the time on the board. I don't think he was really challenging himself a lot more to push the car to the max. And by Max not putting in that lap, he ended up just having a calm drive on a Saturday. And yourself?
Seemingly calm drive. Yeah, no, it was an okay lap. We do have the comparison of it compared to it was compared to the game, and it seems like there's a lot more grip in real life than there is in the game, which is an interesting
Oh, that
little thing that went. But yeah, the lap was quite solid. Um, if you watch the comparison that they did, they released a video on F1 YouTube channel. The comparison between Perez and Alonso.
Yep.
There's just the Red Bulls just are faster. It's like there's literally no difference between what they're doing, and the Red Bulls is faster than Tesla.
No, definitely. Swizz and I were saying yesterday that they've just got a rocket ship, designed by Adrian Newey. That this vehicle is just insane. Everyone else is driving a regular car, and the Red Bull drivers are sitting in a absolute rocket ship of a vehicle that could be piloted by a man. In P2 and P3 we have who?
Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz was, I think, if we can just go to P3 quickly, Carlos Sainz was the bigger impressor for me this weekend. He really started showing up in practice 3. I believe he was ahead of Charles in practice 3 as well as in qualifying. Yeah, managed to keep the car out of the wall, whereas last year, he was the unfortunate driver to put the car into the wall, and to be able to put it up on in P3 is doing Ferrari good. I think I'm really quite satisfied with what he was able to do.
Yeah, no, same. I'm actually quite excited for the one after that. But let's just return to Fernando Alonso. As I said, his lap was quite solid, pretty much mimicked Perez, but there was just that little bit lacking in the car. Where do you think that pace came from?
I think that pace overall came from the floor upgrades that they've been bringing overall. I believe that Aston Martin was one of the few teams that did bring an upgrade, a big improvement upgrade in Azerbaijan, as well as this year, at Miami, they brought the cooling louvers onto the car. So maybe the cooling of the car, the engine is a lot more cooler. The temperatures are controlled, so he could really get the maximum out of the engine down the back straight. We do know that Red Bull are the fastest car in the straight line with their double DRS, but I think Fernando truly was able to maximize going through that chicane and maximizing his exit line onto the long straight, because it really counts for the most. So yeah, I think a
So
lot.
what happened in practice with him then? Because I'm looking at it now. Practice 3 was P12. Practice 2, let me go in order. He was P5. Okay, that's a decent one, 7 tenths off. And in FP1, he was P7, 1.1 seconds off. So it wasn't exactly P2 material. So
I think he was, a lot of the times the teams do like sandbagging a little bit. I do think he
a
was.
sandbag.
I think there was a bit of a sandbag there while he was trying to figure out the setup, trying to get used to what the car is doing, telling him and giving him a bit of information on that side of things. These. Yeah, for him to all of a sudden pull out that lap was truly phenomenal job from him. But I do think that he was struggling quite a bit in practice, trying to figure out the setup and balance. But overall, it looked like in qualifying he found that balance and was able to set it perfectly fine for himself to get himself a P2 start.
Okay. Nothing I can really disagree with there. So let us move on off
Welcome,
of the
Don.
podium.
Welcome, Don, to the stream. I do agree. Let's go. This race is gonna be an interesting one. Don, who do you think? Let's see. What's your prediction? Who's going to win the race, second and third? While we wait for him, you were saying them.
That's actually Nash.
That is that. Nash.
I need to pop out the chat real quick. Hold on. What do I do? Yeah.
I really want to know. Is our smooth operator? Our smooth operator is not in chat today. Unfortunate. Maybe he might join us a bit later on. But that will be great to see smooth operator Mr. Carlos Sainz back in the chat.
Okay, there we go. And then I can say pop out. There we are. Fantastic. That took way longer than it needed to. Alright. Cool. We go to our fourth person that guys, this P4, I was very happy when I saw it happen. Even though it was just through highlights. K-Mag on home turf in P4.
No,
Just narrowly beating out Gasly.
it truly was. I do think the Haas are looking to be a potential contender here in this race. They seem to have some pace, as Don says. Alonso to win the race, Perez second, and Sainz in the third position. This is a very interesting take I hear from you. I just don't think that Alonso's pace is strong enough. I think if Alonso is to win the race, both Red Bulls need to be out of the race in order for him to win the race. And that will be a very hard ask for either one of the Red Bulls, or potentially having the Red Bulls at the back of the grid on a track such like Monaco, where it is quite difficult to do some overtaking. So it's a very interesting take you have there for Alonso to win. I would truly like to heart in my heart, that's what I want. Truly, I do believe all of us do want Alonso to win more races so he can get that fateful third championship once again.
We'll just see. Everyone just wants to see Fernando happy. And we are joined by a Swiss, I believe. Is he there? I see he's here, but I don't know if he is here.
Ah, there we go. Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh,
Hello.
good evening, Swizz. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we are not joined by our smooth operator at the moment. Maybe he
Not
might
yet,
join
give
us
it
later.
time.
He might join us a bit later on. The race only starts in about 2 minutes. As we're looking at the starting grid, Max Verstappen starting in P9. I think it's gonna be a P9 to P2 challenge for him. With Perez having that big gap there, I don't think he's going to have a chance to overtake Perez unless the strategy is that Red Bull hold Perez back this race. So as we're seeing, what is your prediction for the race? Who's P1, P2, and P3?
I am not. I don't know. I'm struggling to. I was thinking about it earlier, and I'm struggling to kind of put it into words. I honestly think Alonso is going to try to get into P1 in turn 1.
Oh,
I don't think they have the strength to hold it though. I think it'll be a Red Bull 1-2. I think Leclerc is going to bin it.
You think he's going to bin it again?
Yeah, 100%.
The Spain.
If he doesn't bin it, either he bins it or the strategist bin it. But Leclerc's not going to have a good race.
Oh.
And I think Alonso P3. It's either Alonso P3 or Hamilton P3.
Hamilton, when he's starting so far down the grid in P13. That is an interesting take.
Wait, sorry.
Russell is in
hold on.
P6 right now.
Russell. Sorry, I confused the two. I forgot Hamilton didn't make it into Q3.
I was about to say that is a very interesting take to say that Hamilton to climb 10 positions for that podium finish would be actually great as we see.
That's not gonna happen.
I think that he'll get into the points most definitely, as we see.
Okay, yeah, 100%.
As we just quickly get Nemesis's takes. Who's P1, P2, and P3 for you?
Definitely Red Bull lockout on the front row. I think Perez is going to win it. Just because he's currently leading, it gives him some time to pull away, even if Alonso does get ahead into T1. I agree, he's just got the pace over him and will walk away eventually. Which will leave Max like 7 seconds behind, so that's P1, P2. P3, I'm thinking either Carlos or Alonso. I'm leaning more towards Carlos, just from bias, I guess.
I see.
But I would never be upset with Alonso getting a P3, so that's me.
That is lovely. My take is, once again, Red Bull lockout for P1, P2. I think that's going to be the trend for majority of this here. With Perez winning this race because he's just too far ahead for Max to actually catch him. Maybe Max will show him. Maybe Perez might struggle a little bit because he was struggling in practice to be keeping up with Max's times. We'll see. We definitely have to see. I do think they were maybe on different strategies during practice sessions. And then in P3, I believe it should be Charles Leclerc, unless he ends up binning it or Ferrari mess the strategy up once again, which will then lead to Fernando Alonso gaining that podium position in third place, as he's been collecting third place positions this whole year. As we also take a quick look at everyone's tires here, as we have Perez on a new set of mediums, Alonso on a lap-old set of mediums, Carlos Sainz, Magnussen, Gasly, Russell, Leclerc on new mediums. Ocon and Verstappen have chosen to go on the hard tires, so they're looking for the alternative strategy where they'll go into the mediums during the pit stop phase later on in the race. We have Bottas, Albon, and De Vries on new mediums, as well as we have Hulkenberg in P11 with Hamilton in P13 and Zhou on hard tires. They are all new tires for the three of them, with Norris and Piastri, the McLaren boys, being outliers, running soft tires for the start of the race. So we're looking to see that they are going to gain some positions on them, with Logan rounding it out with Logan Sargent on the mediums, and Yuki Tsunoda and Stroll also sitting on the hard tires. Both, I believe, should be new sets of tires. Stroll says the data says it is 1 lap old tires for him. This will be an interesting one, as Carlos Sainz is instructed by his race engineer to do 2 burnouts for us as he gets to the line, as everyone is slowly starting to inch forward, getting to that line.
Yeah, just a quick one. You mentioned that 2 drivers were on softs. I missed that.
Yes, that is the McLaren boys of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri on soft tires, looking to try gain some positions. Yes.
Very, very interesting thing from my part on that. They're looking to make up positions.
Yep.
1, they don't have the straight line speed of some of the other cars that are here. 2, we've seen multiple times during practice and quali that if you go off the racing line, there's no grip. Where do they plan on making these moves?
I think they are planning to make the moves later.
We'll talk about that, but lights are up.
I think the plan is to do it right now as the lights go out and the race begins.
Forward for that.
Perez chops him off, Fernando Alonso, but he's not going to give up.
As
Carlos looking for
there's drama already.
Well.
And that's a McLaren included in that drama. That looks like they dropped down to P19.
It is some crazy drama, as the race order stays the same for the first few corners in the top 3 at least. We will find out just now where the race order is. Russell is up 1 position. Kevin Magnussen has dropped down 2 positions. Bottas is up 2 positions. Max is down 1. Ocon is down 1. Hamilton, Hulkenberg and Albon still in. Piastri making 5 positions. Lando dropping 3. De Vries dropping 5 positions. There, I think that little bit of drama was between De Vries and Lando Norris, I believe. Logan Sargent overtakes both De Vries and Lando to go up.
This track is looking very dusty.
It truly is dusty. I do believe that there was nobody else racing this weekend. Yeah, it's only the Formula 1 cars that put the rubber down for this weekend. I believe there was a slight chance of rain, maybe, forecast for this race, as Lewis Hamilton seems to be under pressure by a McLaren in Piastri with those soft tires. But they come to the corner, luckily, last corner before the next straight, as Perez looks to lead and already has a 1 second gap on Fernando. I believe this is getting into the start of everyone's strategies.
Yeah, they're definitely going to start settling down now. It doesn't seem like anyone's threatening anybody else too much as they all go through the twisty bits of Miami. Really fun bit to drive, but very difficult on the tires. So we're going to have to see how hard they are with that. I know the Red Bulls, again, fantastic on their tires. Hard on the Ferrari, so we'll see. Sainz already dropping off quite a bit from the top 2.
Lewis Hamilton.
He's already trying to...
Lewis Hamilton saying he's not feeling comfortable in the car already with these hard tires. I think these hard tires are not warmed up and not getting temperature. It might take him a lot longer to get these tires up to temperature. I think Max Verstappen's also, but he's actually on the charge finally. He gained back his position and overtook Bottas with the hard tires, which is quite a crazy feat to say. This just shows that's the strength of the rocket ship, that these Red Bull, they are able to overtake you even if you are on a faster tire.
The scary part is DRS is going to activate in the next 2 laps.
No, it activates
he's
end of
gonna-
this lap.
Oh, sorry, yeah. In first lap 3. Well, yeah, end of lap 3.
Now, well, it actually activates now that lap 3 has begun.
Oh, is it end of lap 2?
End of lap 2.
Sargent in the pits.
Oh no, what happened to Sargent that he needs to go into the pits?
I'm gonna guess that he was. Oh, you said that incident at turn 1 was between the McLarens.
It was between the McLaren of Lando Norris and Nick de Vries, I believe, but we will see. Oh, a little bit of, I guess he got a leg. I
think Sargent was involved in there.
But he managed to overtake both of them, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. He definitely has to be going on to the hard tires now. And I mean, I believe he could just go to the end of the race as we have an overtake going on Leclerc by Kevin Magnussen, showing him that the Ferrari is actually is not the works team anymore. It is just a customer team.
And Verstappen is all over them.
Causing a collision. I would really like to see.
Norris and de Vries.
I really would like to see what happened between Norris and de Vries at the start of this race.
Charles really needs to get past K-Mag. Yes, this is good.
Ooh.
Because
he had the DRS
right behind. But that doesn't
and Max Verstappen gains 2 positions. It is.
Verstappen.
Yeah, it's over.
Max just put K-Mag between himself and Charles. Doing the opposite of what I wanted to happen. Also, I believe your guys' legendary chatter is back. The smooth operator, Carlos Sainz, in the chat.
Is Mr. Smooth Operator is back in the chat.
We discussed this. We need a radio check.
Radio check. Radio check. Oh, I see what happened with Lando Norris and Nick de Vries. Nick de Vries locked up and ended up re-ending Lando Norris.
Into turn 1. Was there any damage?
I believe there should be damage on Nick de Vries' front wing.
And he's just carrying on a circuit where you need downforce.
He definitely did connect with Lando's. I'm surprised Lando's tire did not burst. Or get a puncture at least with that contact.
Norris isn't making any headway, so maybe there's damage to his car. Causing some turbulence at the back end.
I think it looked more just like tire damage than anything else. Nick de Vries definitely came off worse than anyone else.
Yeah, Norris is not making any headway with these softs.
I do believe these softs are most likely dead for him at this point.
Maybe we have a look at it here.
Yeah. Well, this is more the front runners. We can see there, as you can see here, lock up from Nick de Vries. Absolute menacing lock up. I think he just got too hot on the brakes.
Some lovely camera angles.
Truly lovely. As Smooth Operator says, while I think Max can make it, but as a Ferrari fan, it kind of hurts, Don. Definitely, I hear you. Ooh, Hamilton getting squeezed.
Ooh.
Yeah, as we can see the Nick de Vries incident going on here.
That was a bit of a love tap.
You can see this little lock up here from him.
Oh, you see.
Boop.
This is exactly, Lando had to take advantage of the soft tires, and that's what he tried to do, and now it bit him.
This is another one where through goes Max Verstappen.
Overtake of the day so far.
Goodness gracious me.
Max Verstappen showing
just opened up for him.
That he's truly showing the other drivers how it's done.
Is there damage in the back there? Can we see?
Well, I doubt there's
Not really.
much damage to the back. More just tire damage for Lando Norris. There. I know your pain. I'm a McLaren fan, says Don. Don, we truly understand your pain, Don.
Oh, Sainz has clawed back a little bit toward Alonso.
This is looking good. Max Verstappen putting in the fastest lap. That's how we get Hamilton radio going. Yeah, that was. I think Hamilton is complaining too much because of his tires. Is going on there.
So Hamilton is being Hamilton, is what you're saying.
Standard vibes.
Yeah, as Bono has informed Lewis that both soft runners have pitted to change over to the hard tires. I think
We've actually been spoilt with Hamilton being fairly quiet, relevant to the previous years.
Oh, truly quiet. I think Russell has taken up the mantle of being more vocal, or at least the broadcast has been presenting a lot more of Russell's complaints than anything else.
I think what happened is as soon as Hamilton got knighted, he had to become a little bit more humble.
Do you think that this could possibly be a thing with age? Because if you look back at it, Vettel was also a bit of a hothead back in the day. But over time, he became a lot more humble in who he is and how he presents himself nowadays.
I suppose so. It does come down to, the young guns doing well, getting that ego. I think everyone went through it. Verstappen's currently going through it. Hamilton was doing it. Vettel.
Truly.
I mean, Kimi's a law unto his own, so he doesn't really count.
Smooth operator, we will see you after you go and pray. If you come and join us again afterwards, hopefully. Enjoy your prayer, my friend. Oh, Alonso's doing some fancy things here for this race.
No advice for Stroll just yet.
Not yet, not this weekend.
But there's still lots of race left.
Oh, definitely. We will definitely see what other plans the Aston Martin boys have. But I am really impressed with Pierre Gasly sitting up in 4th position with his car as
holding his own.
Russell is getting hunted by a Max Verstappen on harder tires. Max
is terrifying.
Max is not giving any type of room.
Oh, Max has him into turn 1. Surely.
Oh, Max definitely does.
Oh no, Russell also has DRS though.
No, it does not matter. Russell gains like 10 kilometers with his DRS, but Max Verstappen gains 20.
Yeah, we might just see an overtake with DRS. Maybe. He's going to be relying on the Alpine ahead of him to give him that toe.
He is only around 5 point something seconds behind Perez. Verstappen is he definitely has a shot at winning this GP.
You think he has a shot? I think if we look at the data currently, right, Verstappen is running only 0.3 faster than Perez, and I think that's just because Perez is not pushing right now. Remember, Perez is on the faster tire, but he is the king of tire preservation. He's just
true.
He does not have a competition right now. He's saving tires. You never know. By the time Max gets to him, that his tires might have been worn out just a little bit too much, so he's unable to compete against his own teammate. As Max goes for the dive on Russell, makes it look smooth, easy, and it's just like a hot knife through butter. Russell has no chance.
Nothing
Russell has no chance.
So stunning overtake. That corner is so hard to break into.
Russell is making some excuses here, big vibrations on the brakes, but it's fine. Russell, you know you're never going to catch the man or fight him off like that.
But he must always try.
Oh, truly. I feel like Russell truly learned from Hamilton on how to complain when he joined the team. It
I think
truly
it's
does
part of
look
the
like
Mercedes boot camp.
Oh no, definitely. It's a rite of
To
passage.
not
what we
lock
can say.
up, to not lock up into that corner going that fast. It's incredible.
It's a textbook Hamilton road.
As Carlos Sainz is getting a tire pressure update from his race engineer, which is looking interesting. Does he have too little tire pressure? I know that, or is he sitting on the absolute limit of the minimum tire pressure that the
This is
Pirelli guys have
probably
given?
another position for Verstappen.
Oh,
You can see the
definitely.
difference between straight line speed with the Alpine. Bit of a bigger jump for Max. So much so that
He's gonna walk past him.
he had to complete the overtake really late though because of how far back it did it from.
Yeah, but he had 30 Ks on that straight more. That's ridiculous.
Fair.
Gasly's looking in danger right now of Russell overtaking him as well as Russell is looking for a beautiful dive by him.
Action just following Max.
He truly is. He's doing a very good job. Hamilton not
Yeah.
looking comfortable in this freaking car. Not able to even move up a single position. Sitting
Max is
4/10.
pulling Russell along.
Yeah. I mean, Hamilton's sitting behind a customer team in Albon. 3/10 behind. Does he even have the chance to overtake? No, he's not looking like he can. Russell going for quite a beautiful move. Unfortunate for Pierre Gasly that he's unable to make that goal. So, gentlemen, if I may ask you guys, I have a few ideas of what we can, of few questions I have to ask you guys. You know, Nick de Vries right now is not performing as great as his hype was over the last season. You know, what do you think is different from him being a one-hit wonder from that race in Monza last year to now being a full-time driver for the AlphaTauri drivers, and he's only able to sit in P17 right now when few of the front runners in front of him are sitting on hard tires and he's not really gaining much position on them.
Whose car was he in Monza last year?
The Williams of Alex Albon last year.
That was lead driver's car.
Correct.
So I'm gonna put it down to a little bit of that. Just being in the slightly better car, Russell.
Okay.
Okay, good to know what your gut tells you. Russell, man, the English, I tell you. So I think it came down to, because right now he's in the number 2 car. Well, there isn't as much R&D going into it. So that's a thing. But I also think he's trying to find his feet a little bit. I know these cars are a lot different to last year's cars. They're a lot faster. There's a lot more downforce. They're a lot more finicky to drive in. So I think it is a little bit of a learning phase. We're gonna have to see halfway through the season whether he's still underperforming, and then AlphaTauri is gonna have some difficult decisions to make.
Truly. Nemesis, what do you think of Nick de Vries' performance so far in this year?
I think the AlphaTauri is a horrible car to drive, and for somebody that doesn't know how to drive a Formula One car nicely, to learn on one that's already terrible to drive is just compounding everything like 10x. So
I do agree.
I know the man can drive. We all know the man can drive.
Yep, definitely being a
So
Formula 2 winner.
yeah, and Formula E champion, like he can drive. So the fact that he's struggling like this is, I think, the car.
I agree. I do think the car's not doing him any favors. It is amplifying, making him look bad. But Tsunoda's just outperforming him so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Carlos struggling with the fronts. But yeah, I think he needs to make the most out of this car, and it doesn't look like he's doing that. He's crashed out quite a few times now.
A lot.
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, he just needs to. He really needs to. He needs to pull himself together. This is a cutthroat sport. Every team has a reserve driver. You need to prove that you deserve to be in the car over the guy waiting, breathing down your neck.
No, definitely. With especially with Helmut Marko being quite as ruthless as he is, he's definitely looking at De Vries's performance and wondering, oh, is Magnussen?
It was a great fight. Magnussen not letting Leclerc through.
I just
Not
realized
today.
Charles is still there. Why is Charles still there?
Charles is struggling.
Max went past
Magnussen is
win,
fast.
bro. Oh goodness.
You must remember, it's a works team versus a customer car in the Ferrari. They're on the same tires. There's no chance. It's basically essentially a carbon copy of the same team and car design. And the Haas brought a new floor to improve their top speed. You know, in the DRS last race at Azerbaijan, they were the fastest car with the DRS, even beating the Red Bulls out by, I believe it was 5 kilometers and that was with the Red Bulls having DRS. So, Leclerc is definitely in for a big struggle. Let's see whether he can use his energy to catch up.
Let's get on the power and move. Carlos has caught up with Alonso after the last few laps.
So is Verstappen.
I think it's because Verstappen was coming that he decided I need to pick it.
Maybe that's why he's struggling with the fronts.
As we see, Perez is starting to pick up his pace because Max Verstappen is ever looming closer to him. Perez and Max trading fastest laps with each other. Perez with a 131.9 and then Max takes it away with a 131.7. Incredible from the Red Bull drivers to be doing these types of things. For Max to be beating his teammate by 2/10 on the hard tires, it just shows how well this Red Bull car does on any tire. I don't think a tire is a big contemplation for them.
I do think that Perez is going to every time he goes past the finish line, he's going to put in a fastest lap. I think we're approaching the pit window.
Oh, as we get a
Max decided he couldn't wait for the slow Ferrari down the straight.
not definitely, and he's going to go.
Max making it look easy. F1 versus F2 out here.
Hopefully Max can get Alonso off the line for the Ferrari to walk on through.
Truly, we will have to see what Max does here with his DRS on Fernando Alonso. Experienced driver versus both of them are two-time world champions versus each other here for some position. With two different car designs and concepts. Ooh, Max is looking. Will he try go for it on turn 1? Max does not do it this lap.
Not close enough.
But on this end of lap 15, I believe he'll be able to catch Alonso.
Oh yeah, for sure. Magnussen in the pits.
Pitting already.
Okay, Meg, is he going to be the catalyst for all the action?
The undercut. The undercut has begun.
From the medium tires right now. This is quite an early pit.
I'm expecting the one stop. Okay, Meg, I'm expecting the one stop.
13 lap old tires is what he got off of. I do think that is a little too early for him to be
14.
getting off. It was 13 as he was getting in. He crossed the pit line within the pit take there's Max. As we see Max take second position.
On the straight. Oh.
Now we sit and watch. As Don says, Nick has won everywhere he has raced. The car is bad, but Yuki is out driving the car. But you would
making a
expect
move.
that from the third-year driver. Truly, is Hamilton making a move on Albon after 15 laps? He finally decides, maybe he's had enough, and he should actually get a move on in gaining some positions.
It's about time.
It truly is. Does this mean it looks like maybe that's the tire advantage?
Look how far back Max was. Oh, Lord. That's disgusting.
I truly think after this race, the FIA are going to have a look into how they can potentially, in gaming terms, nerf the Red Bulls. Because this dominance is truly... A lot of people want to say it hurts the sport. I do. If we say that, then you do truly have to agree that Mercedes' dominance has also hurt the sport as
for
well.
8 years.
Yeah. I was watching a YouTube video, right, and the YouTuber made a quite a bit fair comment to say, even though within the few years of Mercedes' dominance, back in 2016, we still had quite a spicy bit of drama type of racing with Lewis versus Nico. And then, once again in 2021, Max versus Lewis having some interesting and great fighting. I do think people aren't looking at this year the same as they would have looked at it when Lewis was versus Nico, because I truly feel this year might be the Max versus Sergio year. And I think that the 3-week break that we had really put a dull on how people feel about Formula One and thought that it's quite boring.
Look, at the end of the day, Perez? Front rights, okay.
Medium's giving up a bit.
Yeah, Verstappen wins this race, boys.
You believe Verstappen wins the race?
Yeah, Verstappen wins this race.
He's still racing Checo, though.
I don't think so.
I don't think. There'll be a little bit of a fight, but Verstappen wins this race.
As Ocon gets his time deleted at turn 15, the FIA have looked back at lap 5. It is almost well over 12 laps ago, and they're choosing to delete the lap now for track limits. Very interesting from the FIA to be doing this. I still don't believe Max can win. I think Sergio will have the upper hand. The clouds are looking, depending on how those clouds keep looking, they have quite a cloudy day. There's not too much gray, but it is quite cloudy in Miami this weekend.
Yeah, and we know how well Max does in the rain.
Oh yeah, truly, he's one of the few drivers, Max, Lewis, and Lance Stroll being one of the few great wet drivers on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a very interesting.
Bottas has his moments.
Bottas truly does have his moments, but then again, you go back and you look at, was it Hungary in 2020, and where he managed to take out 3 different cars, and you really wonder how well is his wet race driving. Maybe.
Look, if you're gonna take out someone, take out as many people as possible.
Oh, Russell's in the pits, on for the hards.
Kevin Magnussen's pit stop is now definitely
Leclerc following
triggering everybody else.
How much longer for Perez before he decides he is going to pit as well?
18 laps on mediums.
As we read from Don says, it's a Red Bull era, Mercedes era, Red Bull era. Truly, Don, I do agree. But I feel a lot of the F1 fans we're wanting too much excitement. A lot of the times we must realize Formula One is built on a nice triangle that we have. There's the drama, the racing, and the money that gets involved with Formula One. And a lot of the times, all we see is just the racing. It's pure racing. And with 23 races on the grid, there's bound to be many races that are quite boring, stale, and quite essentially just predictable, There's not
The way
much.
the cookie crumbles.
It really is just like that. As
Don't
ooh,
hesitate.
the Ferrari
Don't
of
hesitate.
Science is looking at Fernando Alonso. Oh, as he dives straight into the pits. Maybe, oh,
Ooh,
locking up. That might
Carlos,
just
don't
be.
get
Oh
please don't get a
goodness.
speeding
He
penalty.
better not
That
get that
might be a
5 second.
penalty. That might be a penalty. It looked like he was going
Oh.
way too fast over the pit limit line.
Perfect time for him to undercut.
It's perfect time, but also one of the best times possibly ever to lock up your brakes and flat spot the tires is when
The
you're
Ferrari
changing them.
lads gave them a good pit stop as well, but now he's in traffic. Come on, Ferrari, what's this?
As Don says, Lando is a beast in the wet, guys. Remember Spa. Truly, I do agree. Lando is a beast, but you must also remember, Lando did end up misjudging the Eau Rouge sector and ending up splitting his car in half, which I am truly grateful that we still have Lando with us, because that looked like a horrifying crash from him. As we get a brilliant view from the cameraman up in at the chicane. Just before that,
graining.
as we see a lot
It's
of
a lot
the
of graining, yeah.
on the front tires of Perez. But if we look at his last lap, a 132.4, Max did a 132.1. Max is gaining quite hard on Perez, only a 1.6, 1.7 behind Perez. I do believe that once Checo, once he gets to about 1.2, they will most likely end up pulling him into the pits if they don't do that with him right now. Sometimes
I would imagine it would be now.
we truly have to see as there's a Ferrari sitting on Hamilton's
Doesn't
behind.
look like it's now.
It's not.
Will Hamilton be able to defend himself from Carlos Sainz? No, he's not. He's unable to, as Carlos Sainz makes it look like an easy walkthrough. Just like a tutorial for him to go through past Hamilton.
He does have newer tires though.
He
Because-
truly does have the
because
new
when
tires.
he's chasing Alonso, he needs to make sure he can get ahead of Alonso. How far is Alonso from the pits? Quite a distance. Still in the first sector, just at the second.
Yeah, going around to turn 8 and 9.
He doesn't seem to be getting any green sectors,
Really doesn't.
whereas he has Carlos going green all over the place.
I guess that's the true benefit of those fresh tires.
That's the fresh tires doing work.
The Stroll's also complaining about no grip, as I think Sergio's complaining as well, as Pierre Gasly and Charles is complaining about more.
There's the box for Perez.
Yeah, as like I predicted at 1.2 from Max Verstappen, Perez is told to pull into the pits. So this looks like it might be a strategy from Red Bull to end up hurting
Beautiful
Perez.
pit stop. Absolutely beautiful.
2.2.
Great pit stop.
We
Matched Sainz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Verstappen's got the clean air. He is gonna disappear.
Yeah.
Carlos was the one that was
So,
wiring Red Bull.
That was a nice little overtake. Hülkenberg leaving the space. Great racing.
Absolute excellent racing going on here. So, gentlemen, I would like to ask, looking at Albon, since he's sitting up in P8, he is truly performing within this Williams team, and he's looking like a solid first driver to try and lead the team. What are your thoughts on this, on Albon stepping up at Williams to be his
I
first
think
driver?
it's about time. He's been there we go. There's the speeding in the pit lane. I think it's about time. He's been groomed for a lot of time now. His little stint at Red Bull probably helped him out a lot, learning a lot from Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
He's been like he's not a rookie anymore. He's part of the furniture at this point. He's been around a lot for a long time. Sorry. So I think all of that is now coming into fruition. He's driving a lot smarter. He's driving a lot more consistently. He's been given a car that Verstappen complaining that upshifts aren't working so nicely. But yeah, he's put in consistent work into himself and his driving, and he's been given a car that isn't, complete. Oh, who is that?
Was tight. That was tight. That was Stroll?
Stroll and Albon
Stroll and Albon, yeah.
getting their elbows out a little bit.
Goodness me, they were very close.
Yeah, but he's been given a car this year that isn't completely horrific to drive. So it's really good to see him, get his a little bit of a break. It's good to see Williams actually scoring points after all these years. So I think he deserves it. I think he's driving really well. He deserves the credit.
Truly.
His demeanor in interviews just says it all. I think he even said he's just like happy with where the car is, how the car's performing, the pace that he has. Yeah, no. I think he's very, very happy with how the car feels. Especially that he can get purple sectors, not sectors, mini sectors, I guess. But he can consistently get purple mini sectors with the car.
Yeah, and as a driver, seeing yourself perform well is going to boost your confidence. A confident driver is a fast driver.
Truly, it is a very interesting thing to see with him. What do you guys think about how well do you think he is training Logan Sargent to help boost the team? As a lead driver, I do believe a lot of the times is you need to help your other teammate, as well as it is first rule to beat your teammate, but in order to help the team, as we see, Carlos Sainz gains a penalty, 5-second time penalty for Carlos Sainz.
It's Spain for us Ferrari fans, bro. Wow.
I do believe it was caused by Carlos himself this time. It's not even a fault by, as Russell doesn't like his front wing. His front wing is.
Did he maybe clip a wall?
What did he do now?
But he just goes.
Sugar.
As Hamilton goes for an overtake.
Ooh, there's some interesting racing going around.
Oh, Russell being racy with Stroll sitting on him, not giving him an inch of space to go ahead. Going back to the thing, let's just first wait for whether Russell is going to try to overtake Stroll here on the straight. He
definitely should. He's got the overspeed.
Oh, Stroll going quite defensively here. Stroll and Russell noted leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Sounds like Stroll left the track. As Perez goes fastest in the first sector, as Russell goes for the dive in the first.
Russell's going to put it up in front of him.
Oh, beautiful from Russell. As we see a Williams and Ferrari fan clapping for an overtake before their eyes, which is always great to see. Going back to our talking point here, being how well do you think Albon is trying to teach Logan Sargent, as he is a rookie this year? A lot of the time sitting in those debrief sessions teaching each other, as Russell's engineer tells him front wing is okay.
I don't even think he's doing it.
You don't?
I think he's gotten into the mentality of the way Formula 1 drivers that are at the top level are supposed to think, and that's like if he jumped into a Red Bull now, I think he'd be competent. Maybe not Perez level, but competent. Just through mindset, and I think you can't teach that.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of need to show it.
I see.
I guess he's doing that example. He's showing Sargent sort of the mindset he's supposed to have, but it's not something that you just get.
Fernando Alonso goes into the pits to allow the Red Bulls to be P1, P2.
Finally, let's get Carlos through there as well.
We'll see how far ahead Carlos as Ocon goes past, and Carlos Sainz gets ahead. The undercut works for Carlos Sainz, but he has a 5-second time penalty, which
It does.
he most likely needs to either drive in through the pits to serve, which I doubt it will happen. No, actually, I do think it will happen, because if we look at it, Max Verstappen, 24 lap old tires, he's slowly feeling the tire grip, I think. Max asking his engineer, what is the limitation on the
Let me
medium
do
tire?
the job I'm paid to do.
Yeah.
And
You
I'll-
do your job, I'll do mine.
as Jean-Pierre tells Max to focus on his job. So truly lovely to see such banter between the driver and his race engineer that he's known for so many years, you know. Always ends up being quite great to see. It is
Maybe
lovely.
Max is getting bored
You
tonight
think,
with his strategy.
you think so? I do think.
Yeah. Especially down the long straights where there's nothing else to think about.
Oh, definitely. So, Nemesis, I want to go
Yes.
back. You and I have played F1 Manager quite extensively with each other. And
Yes.
a few times, I believe it was at least a minimum of 2 times, we've had to try create strategies against each other to get ahead, right? What, you being Max Verstappen's engineer, myself being Perez, what is the strategy and options that you are choosing to do with Max Verstappen right now?
Max needs to keep going at a strong pace while slowly wearing the tires down. Up until the point that we get to about 17 laps to go, so that there's an overlap on. Sorry, just
Ooh.
listening to Stroll.
Stroll is...
So he feels alone out there.
What do I have to do? Drive faster.
Stroll sitting on 24 lap old tires, just like Max about to hit that 25. You were saying, Nemesis?
Yes, so make it 17 laps so there's the overlap for Max so that he has extra tire wear that he can burn through while he's pushing. And then, yeah, put him around that time. Hopefully, with his powerful laps he pumps in, he's still around 8 to 9 seconds ahead of Checo, which really gives him 11 seconds to gain in about 17 laps. And if he can pull it off successfully, pumping in 7/10 a lap faster than Perez average, he's going to win.
I see. That is just right. For me, sitting in Perez's engineer seat right now, I do think that the 2-stopper is the fastest option with the running the mediums. Unfortunately, because of the wear that the mediums have gained, and looking through practice sessions, a lot of the times, the drivers, after 5 laps on the soft tires, they were degraded so badly that they could barely even do much, as we're having a view of the tarmac, I believe. Trying to see the grip there on the tarmac randomly. But I believe Perez is on a 2-stop strategy, looking to be pitting around about lap 40, around closer to the similar time Max. Max should be, I believe, pitting in the next 5 to 6 laps, as well as then Perez looking to pit. He put in lap 20 at lap 40, maybe even lap 45, 46, putting again for maybe a mediums to run to the rest of the race. Because I believe if he's sitting on the, as we Albon, he does not agree with pushing so hard on the tires. If Perez were to go to the end of the race on the medium, on the hard tires right now, Max will easily beat him at this. And if Red Bull choose to leave him on these medium tire, on these hard tires, I mean, to correct myself, he will not be able to win this race at all, and it will be just a free victory for Max. So I think round about lap 42 to 43 is the open of of the next pit stop phase for Sergio Perez to hop onto those mediums to get a faster pit stop to win this race. Swizz, do you have any other comments about what is going on with our strategies? What do you think is good? What do you think is bad in terms of our strategies?
I am not gonna lie. I've never been one for strategies. I've left that up to you two. I just try fast.
Truly, definitely. That's why we always like to
You
be
t you tell
our
me you
engineer.
tell me when to box, I'll box.
As Russell goes for a dive with that DRS into those next corners into turn 11 and 12. Sergio's getting informed of Max's pace as both of the drivers are matching each other. Sergio needing to gain a little bit more pace. I think if he's driving 2/10 faster, he'll be able to catch Max, but I think he'll end up eating through his tires. I do think for Perez, he should just wait and relax a bit for Max's tires to get worn out a bit. As we did see around lap 20 that there was a slight bit of graining on Max's tires there, which can be a very interesting thing. Looking at Russell is 2.4 seconds behind his teammate Hamilton. I do think this will be a very easy overtake. Hamilton losing pace on his rival Carlos Sainz right now. 3.1 seconds behind at the moment. As we hear from Verstappen. As we hear, there's some gusty winds going on.
Do we know what the average time lost on the pit stop is?
It is 17 seconds lost on the pit stop.
17.
17 seconds lost in the pit stop phase.
With the safety car? Do we know that as well?
With the safety car, I believe usually safety cars are 4 seconds 4 seconds extra. No, it is 4 seconds faster. So that will bring it down to almost 13 seconds less. 13 seconds for the pit stop phase. You looking at pit stop at a safety car. Who do you think could possibly bring out a safety car? As we see that Prix is on right behind Oscar Piastri, I believe, and as they're going through turn 1 and 2, fighting each other on my other live data.
I would put it on Charles, if I'm honest.
You'd put it on Charles. Charles is looking truly uncomfortable.
No, he's not having a great weekend.
This is very interesting that you say that Charles is not having a good weekend, because Friday practice 1 and 2, Charles was incredibly fast. He was looking like the better driver out of the two Ferraris. But then, all of a sudden, through Saturday, Carlos Sainz truly stepped up and said, you know what? I am going to be the lead driver for the Ferraris. Which can actually lead me to the next question for me to ask you guys. As we hear firstly from Max. As Max gets told, he's free to lean more on the tires, which means he can feel free to push a lot more. Right. The question I have to ask is, there's been rumors this week, right, that Charles has been in contact with Mercedes, and that if Lewis Hamilton is not to sign a contract by the end of this year, that Charles is to sign the contract to become a Mercedes driver for 2024. What are your guys' takes on it? And if we also remember, previously Toto Wolff has stated before that if Lewis were to retire, Mick is a very good contender for taking that seat in Mercedes. So who do you guys think will end up taking the seat in the Mercedes if Lewis were to retire at the end of this year?
So one, I really don't think that Lewis is going to retire this year. I think he's gonna push for another 1 or 2 years.
He has been said he did say within this week that he wants to spend another 2 years within Formula One and at the team of Mercedes.
Yeah. So because he's also pushing for a South Africa race or an Africa race. He says that's one thing that is left on his racing career bucket list. So he's pushing to the higher ups to have that happen. So I think that's also something that is going to want to keep him in the sport. But I also think that he still wants that one more championship. And Toto is also...
That is very interesting. Nemesis, what do you...
Oh, sorry, I was listening to Hamilton's message or the radio message. Yeah, so I think Toto also said that this isn't the car that's there for Hamilton. They want him to have, a front row challenging car, and he's obviously got the talent to do it. And they said they're going back to the drawing board, so they're not looking to take anything. They're not really looking to make any waves this year. So I really don't think we're not going to see Hamilton in a Mercedes next year. But let's say worst case scenario, something happens, and if it's up to Hamilton, there's a little bit of a fight between Hamilton and Russell. He's not going to back off, but George can pass.
That's the same rule that is applied to every single teammate he's ever had. They are welcome to go past, but must catch up first.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
as we see Russell do the overtake on Hamilton. Apologies for the interrupt there.
No. Yeah, so I don't see a world that Hamilton is not in Mercedes next year, but let's say it is. How do you feel as Toto, having this reserve driver?
Mercedes don't want you to talk, bro.
Yeah, so how do you feel as having Mick as a reserve driver being promised the seat, and then you have this opportunity to get someone like Leclerc, in that car. It'll be a very, very tough pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, I think it's just you have to do what's best for the team, and Leclerc is going to be obviously a faster driver than Mick would. So it'll be a tough thing. I don't think Toto could say no to Leclerc, but if Ferrari pull themselves together, why would you want to leave? If you are Leclerc, why would you want to leave Ferrari? Like, I mean, as Vettel said in a very, very early interview, probably somewhere in the...
Absolute carnage happening when you speak. You need to speak more often.
Yeah, hell's bells, man. Apparently, Verstappen is now, after he pits, he's going to be 5 seconds to Perez.
Yeah, not too bad.
That's very interesting to see.
Yeah, so it's going to be... one of Vettel's early interviews in the early 2010s, I think, he said, if you go into Formula One, you'd want to be in Ferrari. It's like that is, if you don't want to be in Ferrari, you're lying. So
Yeah.
it's got that racing pedigree. It's bloody Ferrari. So getting there for Leclerc was huge, and the fact that he hasn't really been able to make it work because of, X, Y, and Z. If they pull it together, there's no reason that he'd want to leave.
I totally agree with you, but you need to also contemplate the fact that Ferrari are currently in the process of losing key personnel. I mean, one of their key strategists is going to end up being the team principal of AlphaTauri next year, as Franz Tost retires from being team principal, as we see a change to the medium tires for Hulkenberg as he's squealing through the pit stops. I do think with the loss of Mattia Binotto, the loss of this prominent figure in Ferrari for the race, and going into team principal for AlphaTauri, and I believe there was an additional key personnel lost within this change of ownership and CEO change that has happened within Ferrari's structure. I do think there is going to be a lot of turmoil going forward for Ferrari within the next few years. As Charles is saying, there's a lot of jumping all over the place with his car, which is unfortunate for the driver, as he's unable to really put in the pace with the car that he had over the practice session, sitting in P12 currently.
Yeah, before we get derailed a little bit too much, Nem, your thoughts on this Leclerc, Hamilton, Mercedes shenaniganry?
I don't think he's gonna go to Mercedes,
You truly
and
don't.
I think Mick would get the seat.
If we believe Mick ends up with the Mercedes seat,
Yep.
I can understand, and I
Okay,
do see that.
that was a lot more direct than my answer.
Yeah, no, there was that.
I understand why.
It's just the way everything is set up, so it makes sense that it should go that way. I know it can't. There's a big possibility that it can't, but
So
I'll go with what looks like a duck and say it's a duck.
I hear you. I hear you entirely.
What if it's an Apache helicopter?
That's a beautiful duck-shaped Apache.
Helicopter. Truly, I have to agree with Nemesis in a bit of in a bit of what he has to say. Toto has been quoted saying, if a potential talented driver such as Charles is on the market, it's not something you pass up. But looking back at Mercedes' history, they have history with Michael, and Toto has even called Gunther Steiner a bit of a few names in terms of saying that if Michael Schumacher was around, Gunther would not have treated Mick as harsh as he has treated Mick previously. And I do believe Mercedes are dedicated to, bringing that Schumacher name up into something and being there. But I believe that Russell, in order for Mick to join the team, Russell needs a bit more experience from Lewis. I think if Lewis were to sign the 2-year contract and say that after the 2 years he will retire, I think that is enough experience that Russell will gain from Lewis to know what Lewis does and how he truly impacts the team and the morale and brings to the team, to say that Russell will be able to help Mick grow further within the team. And even because generally these two are youngsters, they can get a little bit more rougher with the car. They can accept more G-forces. Fernando and Lewis, they're a bit on the older side. The getting impacted by almost 6 Gs of force really does put a toll onto them. Alonso showing that it doesn't really matter to him, as he's putting it up in P3 at the moment.
Strong bones.
He really has strong bones, but Hamilton last year with the porpoising issues, it really showed. Russell was outperforming him quite a bit. And I do put that down to more that, one, Russell had a better setup chosen for himself, but at the same time, he could take more of the abuse of the porpoising, if I could say. For Hamilton, we saw at the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix last year that, as Leclerc gets overtaken by Magnussen, he's not having a good day at all. Yeah.
He's been fighting K-Max since Max did the double overtake with him.
As we see Hulkenberg taking the fastest lap of the race, but he's on fresher tires than everybody on the grid right now, with 2-lap-old mediums. But I do think that a part of what goes on to Formula One is being youthful, being able to take some of the abuse of the G-forces, as Russell overtakes Carlos Sainz to show that, he's truly wanting that podium position. Like, this is a bit of the point that I'm trying to make here, Russell showing that his youth is really allowing him to push the car to the highest limits that he can and just take most advantage of what he's been given at the moment. Hamilton needing a car that is more designed specifically to be great. He, not to say that Hamilton's talent is not there. I mean, he's still putting it up in P7 with the car that he has. It's just more that the setup is not fitting Hamilton, whereby as he goes into the pits, as we see where he'll end up, I believe he'll end up behind Leclerc, maybe potentially even Bottas. Right now, we just truly need to see if he stays behind Albon, which Albon is sitting on 14 lap old tires. Yes, he's still behind Albon as he goes out of the pits to try warm up his tires.
Charles makes it past K-Mag, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, as they're going up to the DRS zone coming forward just now. So, for me, I think Mercedes might definitely be having a look at putting Charles in the seat. They will. There's not a single moment where we can say that Mercedes and Toto Wolff are not talking to Charles at this point. It is. I think it's dumb to think that they aren't speaking to Charles. But Charles might be trying to be more dedicated, because if you look at it, Fred Vasseur and Charles go way back to his days in Alpha Romeo, and Fred Vasseur was a big advocate for Charles Leclerc to try and push him forward, as we hear from Russell. Russell making his random comments. Lovely. So, I truly think everything here lies on Lewis Hamilton in choosing whether he wants. I believe Lewis is going to sign for another 2-year deal. He might even push for the 3rd year, being to experience what the 2026 cars are going to be like, as we get a big engine haul and regulation change, which will then, I think it's a very good idea for Hamilton to choose to stay over there and just see, what is happening with the new regulations. How can Mercedes, can they build a car that is competitive enough within the 2026 regulations? I mean, they have quite a few years. I mean, there's still 3 more years before the 2026 regulations happen, whereby we have Audi joining the grid, and we have more power from the electric engine. So I think if Lewis does not sign the contract this year, by the end of this year, Charles Leclerc gets the seat in the Mercedes and Mick stays as the reserve driver. But if Lewis stays with the team, I do believe at the end of Lewis's term, Mick will end up getting the seat within the Mercedes team. As we see Hamilton trying to overtake. As we see a good battle between ex-teammates Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Looking really well done.
Not making it easy for him.
It's not. I think with all those years of experience fighting Lewis, Valtteri has been previously quoted saying that, Lewis is the best driver on the grid. He said this within this week. He believes Lewis is really the best driver that we have right now, as Ocon pits for new tires, mediums, looking to try catch up to Lewis, as Lewis is trying to gain some more points. This is a valuable opportunity. Russell does not seem to be gaining too much on Fernando Alonso, last lap being a 132 and Alonso's 131 on the last lap.
Verstappen has managed to pull away a little bit from Perez. He's another 2 seconds up.
He truly is.
He's at that 17-second gap that you said the pit stops are.
So it's looking like if they were to put him right now, they are fighting each other incredibly hard right now.
And then the problem with that is Verstappen's pitting onto new mediums. Perez won't stand a chance.
I do think that Perez might this is the point where the strategy really comes into play, where you contemplate. There's only over 17 or ish laps over by the time when Max pits. Do you really go for the two-stop strategy for Perez?
Max is getting ready to put.
Max, oh, truly, with setting up purple sector 1, he's burning. You can see Christian Horner's face. He's trying to hide his smiles.
Is he boxing out?
He will not be boxing right now. I do think between lap 41 to lap 46, Max will pit. Unfortunately, my picks are quite sad. Russell is unable to keep pace with Fernando Alonso, being 2/10 slower than Fernando in the last lap.
Hey, if nothing changes, my predictions will bang on.
It looks
right now
good.
Yeah.
No.
Max is absolutely pushing this car right now.
He's on it right now.
5/10 faster than Sergio on the previous lap. As we see Lewis Hamilton trying to do something.
Is he going to get the fastest lap?
I don't believe he will get the fastest lap. He's not on those types of... He did get purple sector 1, but sector 2 and sector 3 seem to be all yellows for him so far. Mac 1.7 to Perez right now with if he were to pit right now, as the Red Bull engineers say. So this means that they must know how fast their engineers are to change the tires on Max's car. We have to see. Remember, Perez's change of tires was 2.2 seconds. Let's see whether they will be able to beat that for Max Verstappen.
At least they can match it. That's a very fast time with the new regulations with the pit stops.
Yeah.
They should be okay there.
I do believe if Max were to change tires, he easily gets the fastest lap from Kevin Magnussen, which is a 1:39.
Oh, yes. Yes. Max is going for another lap. Checo follows him through. Checo, you need to really push, my friend, if you want to get any sort of chance of fighting this.
I actually think Checo might be just struggling for a little bit of pace here. Been better, been worse from Russell.
Been better, been worse. 3.5 Ronken. Is that how it is, George?
So if we have just a quick moment to hear what Sergio Perez was told.
Max doing a lot in post.
Sergio's engineer told him that, Max is doing quite a bit of large lifts and coasts. As we can see, there's only 2/10 separating the two drivers. Sergio truly needs to get on the pace right now if he wants to keep the first place position, because he's currently sitting with a net lead of the race, but he is struggling with the second and third sector to really keep up with Max. Max is gaining all that 2/10 so far.
It's slowly disappearing from him. It's slowly disappearing from him.
As Roger Federer looking... no, not Roger Federer there. I believe, yeah. Perez is losing 2/10 and 1/10. 2/10 in the second sector to Max and 1/10 in the third sector to Max. But he is...
Max turning up the whip.
But looks like Perez is gaining 2/10 in the first sector, so that negates necessarily the second sector that is losing to Max. But Max's third sector is really just too great for Perez to conquer.
Well, let's see if Max is going to pit as he comes around the penultimate corner.
I do
Is he
not
going
believe
to
she's.
do it?
I do not believe you'll pit right
Still
now.
not. He's still just going, pumping in laps.
Lap 46 is the lap I believe Max should be pitting. If anything, Max is truly trying to look to get. If we look at it, 14 laps to the end of the race. 14 laps or to 13 to 14 laps seems to be what ended up hurting the medium tires, and when the medium tires started losing pace to the hard tires.
Why do the hard tires last so long? This is a whole nother story that's busy going on here. The mediums were passing away around 17 to 23 laps in.
It was 13 to 14 to maybe 15 laps depending on the car. As we
Some
saw.
people, but like the cars that were really good on tires, like the Red Bulls, they were on the high end.
Yeah,
So that's fine. Why are the hards lasting entire races, man? What?
I think it's
That's
just more. If we look at the Red Bulls are really good on their tire weight.
oh, but it's happened in the last three races. Ocon did it, along with Hulkenberg, along with Albon.
I
They
think
all did it in the last few races.
I think that the Max boxes here with the lap 26 is my prediction. He'll start
40.
45, 46 is the lap prediction.
Yeah, but also the track is a lot cooler today. It's about 10 degrees cooler than it was the rest of the weekend.
As I believe Max does not go into a new shiny set of boots, is it?
That was a slow pit stop.
Yeah, pretty slow. Let's see if Perez is ahead. He is.
Perez is,
But
but he does not have.
not much of a job. for
Max
to do.
Verstappen will need, by the time Max reaches turn 8, his tires will be fully warmed up and capable of overtaking Sergio Perez. I think this is just a flawless strategy from Jean-Pierre to just beat Perez's race engineer in terms of the Red Bull. We end up again with the Red Bull 1-2. Unfortunately, for me, Alonso P3.
That pit stop was ridiculous. 3.3. That's a second slower than Perez's pit stop, and Verstappen is basically a second behind him now.
Max is truly doing in some works on those laps there.
Max is probably going to be winning it because Perez obviously needs to continue to manage his tires to the end.
Did you say those were new mediums or not new mediums?
I was trying to confirm it right now. Max is on a new set of mediums. It just looked
Okay.
from the camera angle, it looked like it was not new mediums. As we just go on to the one of the next talking points I wanted to have, midfield battles, right? Over the years, a big thing about the 2022 regulations was to bring racing closer to each other, so we could have more on-track action than just having moments where, the first place driver is 40 seconds ahead of the next driver. What are your guys' takes on how close is the midfield battle? Mercedes dropping into that midfield battle, as we can see, like Hamilton is sitting in there. And do you think that after one year, has the 2022 regulations worked so far?
Hashtag cost cap.
Oh, Verstappen's tires are warmed up already. I will be right back, gentlemen, as you guys give your takes on whether the midfield battle and this battle as Max versus Perez goes on right now.
Well, it's probably happening this corner from the looks
Most
of
likely.
it. Perez is going to defend. Okay, so they say that they're being left to fight. Perez is saying no.
Minister of Defense.
Minister of Defense. Okay, they're being allowed to fight. This is good. Let's see what happens. Paris says no.
Oh, this is exciting.
Max says hello. I'm
Oh
still
my
here.
goodness, Max
Paris
is like,
saying
oh,
so,
Bears is gonna
yeah,
defend.
so that it's late.
Oh yeah, he's got it now.
Not much that can happen. Yeah, they kept it nice and clean, nice and tight.
Yep.
Very well done.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, like Tibo said earlier, around the nerfing of the Red Bulls. I don't see a point because everyone's got the same cost cap. At the end of the day, if you have better people to develop a better car, you deserve to be winning and being better than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it obviously it's going to create some, I'm going to call it tension, because it's going to end up being like Mercedes doing their thing for 8 years.
Yeah.
But it's also at the same time it's going to create midfield battles. So everyone is being brought closer together, and you just have to accept that they built a better race car, so they're going to be doing better. Now, stop paying attention and stop complaining about the people who are running away at the front, and look at all the exciting battles that are now developing in the midfield because everyone has gotten a lot closer. You have teams like Williams and Haas who didn't have the money that Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari had, and that's why they were lacking so far behind. So now that this cost cap is introduced, it's making the sport as a whole more exciting because there's battles going on all over the place. Like yes, there's one or two cars that are running away in the front, but they just built a better car. It is what it is. Everyone else could have done the same, but they didn't.
Yeah, well, I concur with most of what you're saying. There's definitely a better job done there by the Red Bulls.
Yeah, Adrian Yu is a magician.
Yes. He's definitely is.
As I have returned right now.
I'm of the standpoint that the cost cap it's affected it like just barely. I think it still needs like another 3 years to slap everybody across the face and be like, okay, cool, let's sort out how the distribution works. Because I don't know if the news is still correct, but there's rumors that 7 teams broke the cost cap because the punishment for it is pretty much non-existent. So if that is true, then for me that's very much proof that the cost cap needs time to.
I don't think it needs time. I think it needs stricter punishment because at the end of the day, it's cheating, and if you're cheating, you shouldn't be here. You should get punished. Like, it should be as severe as you don't get to race the next race. Like if something happens, take the I don't remember when, but where the active suspension shenaniganry that Hamilton had in his car, where he was changing the camber. You're not allowed to do that. That is cheating. So that there should have been, like 2 races that he wasn't allowed to race in because it's, it's supposed to be all professional sports is supposed to be gentlemen's sports. Cheating is not supposed to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think same thing with the cost cap. If you found breaking the cost cap, that's cheating. There should be really big penalties for that. I don't know. Missing races, less time in your wind tunnels. Stuff that's really going to affect you because when it has a big impact, people will view it differently.
Yeah.
I truly agree. I do think they already are introducing a penalty for wind tunnel, penalties for breaching the cost cap. But I truly think that, you know, for breaching the cost cap, I think that you should honestly maybe miss like 1 or 2 races. You should not be able to run your cars for 1 or 2 races because, and in those 1 or 2 races, you're not allowed to be doing any development for your car because it is just an unfair advantage that you've gained from breaking the cost cap. You know, this $7 million fine plus less wind tunnel is just a small slap on the wrist for any of these like big teams. Like if Mercedes,
It's chump change. They're just like, yeah, where it's going to cost us 7 million rand and, you know, a little bit less time in the wind tunnels, but we're making up, you know, 40 million rand worth of R&D. So it's totally worth it. But it's cheating, and you're not allowed to cheat.
no, truly.
So at that point, it's just be like, you can't race for the next 3 races.
if
It's like, and you can't touch your cars, you can't touch R&D, you can't do anything.
it really does. If we look at it previously, Ferrari and Mercedes were spending almost $800 million a year on developing the car. During the practice sessions, we were told, you know, Mercedes were building almost 5 or 6 different chassis for their cars. You know, maybe even 8 different chassis. So previously they could run whatever type of car configuration they would want. If we were to go back to, like, if there was no cost cap right now, I guarantee it right now, Mercedes and Ferrari would have been in title contending against Red Bull right now. Mercedes would have had their 8 different chassis that they designed, and they would have put it up against Red Bull to be like, see which chassis works with Hamilton, which chassis works with Russell, which is the fastest, and all of this. But because of the cost cap, it has really limited the amount of spending that they are able to do, which is where I think Adrian Newey's brilliance in aerodynamics has really come to shine with Red Bull, showing that with the most efficient amount of money, maybe a little bit of overspending from Red Bull side of things, he was able to build a rocket ship for the 2022 and 2023 cars. But if there's to be a penalty for breaking the cost cap, within that next year, they should definitely, the team that breaks it should miss a few races. I think it is a valid punishment to be slapped with a 7 million. Mercedes just went from 800 million down to 135 million. I mean, Toto Wolff said, you know, if all the punishment is 10% less wind tunnel time and $7 million, shoot.
Yeah, I'll
you know?
do it again.
Toto said Mercedes are willing to spend that and three folds over. You know, if they're only gonna get penalized with 10% wind tunnel, that's gonna from right now, that might just bring them back to what they were, the wind tunnel and aerodynamic CFD time that they had when they were winning the championships. So for them, there is no real punishment for them to breach. I would not be surprised if we were to find out in September of this year that Mercedes breached the cost cap last year. It would be a little bit dumb for them to have breached the cost cap and not be able to have a competitive car. But I truly think that if it's only going to be a 10% punishment, you know, Mercedes are all for it to be saying, you know what, 7 mil, 10%, here you go. We'll overspend every single time. Whereas a team like Haas is just, this year was the first time they were able to even reach the cost cap.
Yeah, I just think there needs to be a bigger punishment to sway them to not do it.
I totally agree with 23 races being here. I think a big hurting punishment could be like 5 races. 5 race ban for your whole team. So that means both your drivers are unable to race within that race. And guess what? You lose out on so much points, so much running, testing time, and everything. And you're not allowed to develop the car.
Yeah, man, just don't cheat.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
Bad boy.
It really is there just to try punish the drivers, or not really the team, for overspending so much. This is why I am truly interested in seeing what is going to go on with that's Russell. Russell is very confused at who the hell is in
poor
front of
lad.
as
Oh, no.
Logan Sargent. He's trying to learn. I believe this is the first time Logan Sargent is racing on Miami.
Nope.
This is the second time that he's racing here at Miami.
In an F1 car.
In an F1 car, it's his first time, but racing overall, at Miami, the Miami Grand Prix, this is his first or second time.
As far as I know, this is his home track.
But
Yeah, but it's the first time on the track, yeah.
it's the first time.
First time in an F1 car, yeah. But he's familiar with the track.
No.
Yeah.
If
If they don't
no,
race here.
yes, no, he's familiar with the track through the simulator, but not physically driving the track.
This is first time
F2 have not driven here last year.
Okay.
Or
So this
this
is-
year.
Or this year at all. No track, no other category has raced here. The Porsche Super Cup is not racing at this race here at Miami. I do believe that they will be racing at the next Grand Prix, being the Imola? No, not Imola Grand Prix, but yeah, Imola Grand Prix.
Imola.
As we have a actual 1 week break for the drivers to get just accustomed to some of the jet lag that is going on with them. You know, traveling up and down within the world. It must take a true toll on the drivers' bodies, but I mean, a few of them should be used to the type of the life here as we're going on to the second last lap of the race. So Max Verstappen leads the charge 3.5 seconds ahead of Perez. Unfortunate for Perez that he's not able to truly capitalize on what's going on in this Miami Grand Prix.
Oh, hey, we're gonna have a Red Bull 1, 2, 3 again.
I mean, like it was previously stated, I think it was in a few
Green
videos,
Red Bull.
was that Red Bull, Max Verstappen can go on and win the Grand Prix by his home race in Netherlands and have Daniel Ricciardo jump into the seat of Max Verstappen and then still have a Red Bull 1, 2, 3 finish for the year,
Yes, sir.
which is a wild stat, but knowing Max Verstappen, he will want to race every single race of the year. He is not going to want to give up his seat purely because
Yeah.
he's won the title already.
Mm-hmm.
That is just the type of driver who Max is, you know. I believe any driver actually wouldn't want to do that because why? You know,
True racer, yeah.
you're a true racer as Ayrton Senna. If the gap no longer exists and you don't go for it, you're no longer a true racing driver.
Even for fastest lap as well.
As Max did that.
Just to make sure.
Oh, definitely he has to make sure that he gets that fastest lap in for extra points to beat Perez. He's barely beating Perez right now. I believe it's 6 points. Difference between the two drivers.
I'm gonna extend it a bit more now.
Oh, definitely after this race with 26 points to Max at the moment. I believe Sergio should, out of everything, try to go for the fastest lap push right now.
No, I don't think he'll be able to do it. Not on tires that old and the compound slower than the mediums. No.
Hang on, Hamilton overtook Leclerc.
Yep, Hamilton did that quite a few laps ago.
My
I
brain
believe it's
didn't
2 laps ago.
register that one.
We watched the overtake into the final corner of Hamilton overtaking Leclerc.
Oh, it's in the final corner.
Yep. as we see some fans already shooting confetti onto the track for Max Verstappen.
I think
come.
those were leaves.
I thought those were leaves, yeah, from the tree.
It looked like confetti to me as Max Verstappen crosses to the penultimate corner, coming over to the finish line to win the Miami Grand Prix.
It was a textbook race.
Truly.
Very well managed from Max.
As we round up with Max Verstappen P1, Sergio Perez P2, Fernando Alonso P3, Russell in P4, Carlos Sainz P5, Hamilton P6 with a mighty drive from P13, Charles Leclerc in P7, Pierre Gasly P8 with his teammate in the Alpine at P9, with Kevin Magnussen rounding out the top 10 with a brilliant drive for the Haas. This is another talking point, is for us to truly look at how Kevin Magnussen versus Nico Hulkenberg is playing out. You know, two experienced drivers.
Oh,
one
last
driver.
corner shenanigans? No, not today.
Not today. Not going to be able to happen between Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda truly outperforming this car, bringing it into P11 with Stroll P12, Bottas P13, Alexander Albon P14, Nico Hulkenberg P15. In P16 we got Guan Yu Zhou, P17 Lando Norris, P18 Nick de Vries, P19 Oscar Piastri, and finishing the top 20 with Logan Sargent. Unfortunate for the McLaren boys, the car is not competitive at all within these years. I do think that with Lando truly must be feeling really bad about his contract to the end of 2028. As we listened to Max's radio saying that it was really good race and felt great in the car.
A great fight with Checo.
It really was a great fight with Checo. I think Checo might feel a little bit too sad right now because he lost the podium, the top step of the podium to his teammate. But I mean, as Max wins driver of the day, I do think I think it's a little bit, driver of the day is a bit too easy for him to, what I would say, farm this video from Perez. Let us hear on the stream some of Max Verstappen's comments here.
Yeah, good drive today, Max. Made it harder for ourselves, but we could have done better to beat yesterday. Today was a very good drive.
I call that simply lovely. That was a good race. Thank you very much. Really good. I think we're going to do it again.
What about Max? That was a mighty stint. I was really impressive on that on the hard tire. And thanks for racing leading with your teammate today. It was great team performance. 1-2 in America. Brilliant.
Yeah, the tire lasted really nicely. And yeah, that was a good fight to check. But yeah, that was very good. Good day.
You were saying Nemesis? YSD?
There's an echo.
Was there an echo going on?
Yeah, on the voice.
Let's hear Perez. Maybe it was just a broadcast from Max that was iffy.
Tough weekend, but good points.
Yeah, well done, Checo.
Well done, you gave it everything there. Great points today. Great points today. Well done.
Yeah, well done. Good team.
Brilliant. Thanks for everything. You guys were very good today. Thank you.
Stavelland's also echoing.
Good job, guys.
Or was it happening the whole stream thing?
Was it echoing? Oh, I see. I think I know why it was echoing.
Oh no.
I think I'll fix the error between the echo. So if you listen to Fernando Alonso's comments, as we saw that Max Verstappen and Checo are pretty satisfied with the race. It definitely was clean between the Red Bull boys. Checo looking a little bit more sad that he couldn't have won the race. Max giving him a unfortunate. It was a good race, mate. Unlucky teammate. Let's hear from Fernando Alonso. There was no audio from that one as we hear from the next one.
Welcome. Yeah, well done, guys. It's a bit of a lonely race, but we take it. Good weekend.
That should have fixed the echoing problem, but so we saw the Ferrari boys talking to each other about the problems they both felt throughout the race as we're getting an interview from Max.
It always hurts not winning.
It really does.
P2, it was a bad race. Didn't go well.
There's quite a little bit of thunder from my side there.
Same.
Fernando.
That's true.
Fernando
The Red
definitely
Bulls are
does
very, very fast.
agree. The Red Bulls are incredibly fast. It was a true shame that the Ferraris weren't able to keep pace. Hamilton ending 8 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. Couldn't get that P5, but good points for him regardless, without losing out too much. 20 laps on those medium tires. Really felt that Charles truly must feel angry with himself as he caused that I must say, gentlemen, if we go back and look at the lap, I think this is a definite YouTube video for us to go and look at. Is if we look at the spin of Charles Leclerc in qualifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initially, he spun, he lost the rears, and if you look at it carefully, it looked like the car was going to hit the front left plus maybe taxing the front wing, right? But you can clearly see that he got back onto the power to flip the car around and end up making the car hit the rear of the car. It's a little bit of a small detail there, but you can clearly see within it that, he did as this P1 driver here is about to run over our cameraman here as he's this driver is a little bit crazy going on here, maybe he needs to.
What is going on right now?
I think the cameraman needs to definitely move out the way, or at least the driver needs to.
On a vehicle.
The driver needs to drive a little bit more slower for the cameraman as he's sitting on his. No, cameraman is on another vehicle.
Are they driving to the podium?
They are driving to the podium.
The podium is on the other side of the stadium, because remember the track is around the Hard Rock Stadium.
Yes.
So the podium's on the other side.
I see. They're having a little bit of a thing, but they're not even giving us much here. Let us hear quickly from some of the drivers here. From, let's see, we had Max Verstappen, we got Lewis Hamilton. Let's hear from him.
And as we go HPP 1, position 14, 1 position 14, that will give you strap 2 over the finish line.
Lewis Hamilton got told about a strategy to do. Fernando Alonso we heard already, as we can go to Logan Sargent.
I'm so sorry.
Logan apologizing for ending up in P20. Is when we go to Lewis as he crosses the line.
Lewis, strategy worked against us, but you still made it to P6. Great race, really. The maximum you could probably have achieved from that strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Toto. Top one, guys, but still got some points. Thank you for the continued efforts. Super proud of you, so let's keep pushing.
Thanks for the pass with George as well, Lewis. Really good points for the team. Well done.
That's how we do it. Work together as a team.
Yeah, copy Lewis, always.
As we hear from Lewis, Toto apologizes for the strategy that unfortunately didn't work too well in Hamilton's favor. But regardless, Hamilton managed to bring back a P6, as well as Bono thanking Lewis for not putting up too much of a fight against Russell, so that we could get Mercedes could get maximum points for the weekend. As we go to Alexander Albon for his radio call across the line.
We didn't have the base, so this track just exposes all our weaknesses. Just so much rear locking on initial.
As Alex thinks there's a lot of weaknesses that got exposed for their car this weekend, which I hope can bring really good results, as well as information for the team of Williams to try and help claw themselves back up further, and he can help Sargent to grow as a driver. We hear from George Russell right now.
Great race, guys. That was fun. Very good job.
Yeah, good job. That was P4 in the end. Some nice overtakes in there as well.
George, great driving, good recovery, damage limitation were really good.
There's Toto, and George's engineer tells him great damage limitation for the weekend. As we see Max, Checo, and Fernando in the cooldown room talking to each other. Unfortunately, we cannot hear much of what they have to say. Who's here? It's Yuki Tsunoda.
Obviously, you cannot be happy, but with this package, we did a good job.
Yeah, very good race. So we take the positive and we move forward for the next.
We then go to Carlos Sainz.
And P5, P5.
We will review what happened there with the hard, but ADM felt great. Well, the medium felt really good. So, yeah, we will have a look.
Carlos Sainz wants some reviews over what went wrong with the hard tires in his race stint. Esteban Ocon.
Well done. So P9 finish there.
Yeah, good job. Car felt pretty good. Probably best of the year so far. Good job. Let's keep going.
Then Pierre Gasly.
That's P8, P9 for the team. I think well executed. I think that's unfortunately where we are at the moment. We're closer and we'll keep fighting the clean race.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we tried. I think just the start of the second stint, I lost quite a bit of time fighting, but yeah, that's the race. That's the race. So
yeah, copy that, mate.
Did what we could. We keep fighting, and then I'm sure we're gonna close the gap for these guys. Good double points, and yeah, focus on Imola now.
Yeah, copy that. We keep building on this.
Gasly satisfied with some double points, which is pretty good to hear from them, you know, keeping some high spirits up there, even though he lost a lot of time fighting other drivers along the way, losing pace to Lewis Hamilton over the laps as we go to Oscar Piastri.
And Oscar, that was not the afternoon we wanted. I'll show you on the lap count, but the start you did was very good, and the initial pace on the hard.
Oscar was told that the initial pace on these hard tires was good, and the start that he had was pretty good, but the rest of the race was not as great. They will be looking at the data. Valtteri Bottas, we hear from him.
So that was P13 for us in the end.
What a shame. Just not no pace from the others, so yeah, tried everything I could.
Yeah, I think it was a good race, especially the pace in the middle of the race there, and also your lap one was really good.
Oscar Piastri, we hear again.
Very good. We'll go through the details once you're out of the car, but the problem doesn't just affect the braking, it's cost you a couple of other things as well.
Oh, so we get a little bit of spicy information here, gentlemen. Apparently with Oscar Piastri, the braking is a big issue from the McLaren. Sounds like whatever they did for the front end of the car is hurting the brakes, and that these brakes are not as good as the rest of the grid, which is leading the McLaren boys to be ending up in P17 and P19. What do you guys make of this?
That's terrifying.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right and terrifying. I do agree. It's truly terrifying. If your brakes as an F1 driver is not up to standard, I think for Lando at least, it is extremely scary that your brakes are not performing as well. This was only told to Oscar Piastri, which I think for a rookie driver to come in and be told that the brakes aren't as good as they should be is incredibly scary and worrying for you, because you'd hope that from F2 to the F1 jump, you know, the brakes and everything else is a whole lot more improved, but whether you have to fear for almost your life on those brakes, it's a little bit scary to hear. Let's hear what else Oscar had to say to those comments. As we hear that Oscar wasn't just held in the talking button, but nothing was said as we go to Guan Yu Zhou.
So Joe, P16 at the end. Again a tough race, but good job especially on the final stint.
topic. I feel it was so much better on my second stint. First thing I was struggling a lot with the grip. Really struggling there. But yeah, let's go again. Yeah, voila.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. As I said, it was a good stint on the medium.
Guan Yu Zhou saying that his second stint was a lot better on the mediums than the first stint on the hards. I do believe everybody who started on the hards, aside from Max Verstappen, had a bit of a early struggle on those tires, trying to make them work there and really get those tires up to pace. As we hear from Kevin Magnussen.
That's it, Kev. Well done, mate. P10, 1 point. We'll take that. Fantastic work. Thanks, mate.
Sorry guys, was hoping for a little more there, but I got a start. Sorry, man. We're back in the game though. Good pace all weekend, so let's move on.
Completely agree, Kev. You've got to be up there to do it on a regular basis. Fighting the big boys today.
Haas sounding quite satisfied a little bit with being able to fight some of the big boys in the F1 grid. Kevin not sounding too satisfied with not being able to bring more points home for the team, but that is expected from a driver of his caliber. No driver wants to only be able to gain 1 point for the race weekend, and we can go listen to Lance Stroll with his 2 comments for the end of the race.
Okay, mate, I'm afraid that's P12. That's P12, but you've done a great job managing those tyres.
Yeah, we got to look through it. I think that was just not the right strategy.
Lance, firstly, not happy with the strategy that he was on. He thinks the alternative strategy of starting with the mediums and going onto the hards could have been better. Let's hear what else he had to say.
That was just not good enough.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, mate. But you managed those tyres well. Good overtakes at the end. We'll come back stronger. Take the pickup. So Fernando P3, Fernando P3.
As he's told, Fernando's in P3. Pretty good last stint from him. For him to gain the actual fastest last sector within the race with a 25.3 for the last sector, as we hear from Nico Hulkenberg, being the last driver to hear from.
Very, very tricky afternoon in the office. But it's quite clear for me what we need to work on. We'll talk about it in the debrief.
Yeah, copy that. We'll look forward to your feedback.
As Nico tells the team, the Haas team, there's some clear things they need to work on in terms of most likely strategy as well as upgrades for the car for the future. As we see the results, Max Verstappen with 119 points, Sergio Perez with 105 points, Fernando Alonso in P3 75 points, Lewis Hamilton 56 points, Carlos Sainz 44 points, George Russell 40 points, Charles Leclerc dropping 1 place, losing the position to George Russell, with Charles getting 34 points, Lance Stroll with 27 points, Lando Norris 10 points, Pierre Gasly with 8 points, Nico Hulkenberg in 11th with 6 points, Esteban Ocon with 6 points, tied with Nico Hulkenberg, Valtteri Bottas losing 1 position, sitting at 4 points, Oscar Piastri dropping 3 positions with only 4 points to his name, with Guan Yu Zhou losing no positions, sitting with only 2 points, Yuki Tsunoda sitting at 2 points, tied with the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, as well as Guan Yu Zhou. Kevin Magnussen moving up 1 position as he did gain points this race, and in P18 Alexander Albon lost out 1 position to Kevin Magnussen with only 1 point, and the last 2 drivers who are unable to score points yet in the Formula 1 season this year being Logan Sargent and Nick de Vries, Logan being P19 and Nick de Vries being P20. Gentlemen, what do you take of this race, and any other further comments before we head off to the end of the stream?
For me, it was a pretty clear-cut race. We always knew that the Red Bulls were rocket ships, so it was clear that they were going to be 1-2. I'd like to say that my predictions were right. I was wrong about Leclerc, but I mean it's not like he featured much in the race. He struggled to get past Magnussen.
Magnussen was correct.
Correct.
Yeah, he struggled to get past Magnussen, and I mean you're in a Ferrari, struggling to get past a Haas. Kurt Steiner must have been smiling ear to ear in the paddock, watching that shenaniganry. But yeah, pretty clear-cut race. Nothing really. I'm surprised there were no yellows. To be completely honest.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Relatively
pretty clean race. Yeah.
Clean race. No safety cars at all. Nemesis, your takes on this race?
Well, it was a fairly standard race. Nothing exciting when it comes to crashes and yellows and safety cars and virtual safety cars and red flags. So in that sense, it was a bit boring in that, but there was more than enough action for us to keep us entertained throughout the race. And this is all the way through the pack, which was quite nice. So all in all, I'd probably say it's a solid 7 out of 10.
A solid 7 out of 10. What is your rating for the race, Swiss?
Yeah, I think I'll agree with them. I'll give it a 7. There was enough excitement. It was I think it was maybe a little bit better than last year's Miami race because that was a very boring race. But yeah, I'll settle with a 7.
All right, no, that sounds truly great. I do think at the same time for me, I would give it a little bit of a 6. There was not as much excitement that I was looking at the overall race direction in terms of what the broadcast team was bringing to us was not as great as I was hoping. The camera angles weren't as fascinating as we possibly could have seen on track. When in practice we were shown such phenomenal camera angles, as unfortunately in these types of race, in the full race, it's just a little bit harder for them to show those brilliant camera angles that they have set up. But these types of things happen. We can't ask for them to always be ready and stand by for some of the greatest camera angles that they can bring along. But overall, it was definitely a good race. I do think it was a entertaining race. I would definitely give it a 6 out of 10 race. The Miami, I do think, is just a little bit of a problematic type of racetrack in general. I think it does not promote as much overtaking as we possibly could see, especially with that second sector, just ending up putting the cars into a line to say, with that chicane, just telling everyone, you can't do any forms of overtake. You best hope that you have a 1x1, and hopefully your exit for the chicane is great. But overall, it was a good race, and we hope to see more. Unfortunately, we don't have a race coming up this weekend, but the weekend after, we've got the race at Imola, which can bring some potentially fun things. We will bring our views and takes. I believe Mercedes are going to bring a big package upgrade for themselves in the Imola and Spain, as well as Monaco races. Monaco might be a little bit of a smaller, but you can always catch what type of upgrades the teams are bringing on our website at the Late Breakers. Link will be on our channel for you to go and find and look at. But overall, great race, and we will be seeing you guys not next weekend, but the weekend after for the Imola Grand Prix. Do be sure to look at our YouTube channel, The Late Breakers, for some of our clips and shorts of Swizz doing his fastest lap on the Miami Grand Prix up against Max and Sergio's specifically fastest lap. We will also maybe look at Max's fastest lap in practice, as he did seem to have almost 2 to, I believe it was 3/10 faster than you in qualifying.
He was so fast.
In your qualifying lap, Max was in quite fast in his practice session.
Yeah, he was
Lap
so.
times. No, truly, definitely. But be on the lookout for our laps on our YouTube channel. We will show some phenomenal laps there for you guys to see, as well as was looking to get a little bit faster than Max within those sessions.
I'll do my best not to let you down.
And eventually you'll start to see some of our commentary on how we can help Swizz improve on his lap times around certain tracks, as we get some good valuable data around the racetracks, but also when the 2023 F1 game releases, be sure to see us. We will be on the game doing some fastest laps as much as we possibly can to compete with some of the drivers. But other than that, we will see you guys in 2 weeks for the Imola Grand Prix. Thank you for joining us for today, and we'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.